The member for Wide Bay.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Small Business. Will the minister update the House on action the government is taking to protect small businesses from the impact of a costly and unreliable energy supply? What hurdles stand in the way to achieving energy affordability for hard-working Australian small businesses, such as Blue Logistics in Gympie, which has seen its power bill dramatically rise by 60% in the last 2 years?
The Minister for Small Business.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the member for Wide Bay for his question. The Wide Bay electorate has more than 13,000 small businesses, and the member knows that it is those small businesses which create jobs and which create opportunities. I visited Gympie in the member's electorate recently and met Tim Jensen of Blue Logistics Solutions. Running a fleet of prime movers and stainless steel food-grade tankers, Tim specialises in the collection of and transport of milk and other bulk food-grade liquids, Mr Speaker. His power prices have increased 60% in the past 2 years. 60% in the past 2 years. Tim is running a business connecting farmers with freight movement and families with food throughout 5 states. What could be more important? But high energy prices are a barrier to Tim's investment. Now, high energy prices cost jobs. High energy prices stop investment, such as Tim's, and high energy prices mean small businesses cannot have a go, cannot grow. That is why this government has a plan to deliver energy security and affordability to small businesses and families who need the confidence that when they flick the switch, electricity will be available and affordable. Now, Mr Speaker, that's what this government can and will deliver, for example through Snowy Hydro Mark II. Today the government has announced the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission. The consumer watchdog will conduct an extensive inquiry into rising power prices. The ACCC will investigate the national electricity market and retailer behaviour to ensure that the market is operating competitively, Mr Speaker. That is because this government understands the cost of ideology in energy. We know it affects people such as Terry and Liz Paulson, small business people from Dandenong in Victoria, who are in the national headlines today, Mr Speaker. They are considering their business future after a shock electricity bill of more than $4,000 last month. That's up from an average of $1,300 per month, and it has real impacts on their small business. Terry and Liz have a dozen employees, so sky-high prices and empty promises from those opposite mean precious little. They mean very little when retailers announce a 13% price in hike in power prices for small businesses after the closure of Hazelwood, Mr Speaker. They mean very little when household bills increase 10%, and they mean very little when you're a small business trying to pay workers' wages. Mr Speaker, the member for Wide Bay asked about uncertainty in small business. Well, I can tell him that more than doubling electricity prices costs uncertainty. A carbon tax, those opposite want to reintroduce one, creates uncertainty. Citizens' assemblies create uncertainty. Mr Speaker, unrealistic renewable energy targets create uncertainty, yet these are just a handful of the 13 energy policies those opposite have had in 8 years. Higher electricity prices for all Australians. That's what those opposites stand for, Mr Speaker. That's why we're calling in the watchdog. That's why we're delivering a better deal for small business and consumers.
The minister's time has concluded.